As it is now the Bidens dealing with the trial. How President Biden weighed in as Hunter Biden's felony gun case begins. Plus, how did we ever get to 6 feet of social distancing? Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying before Congress today.
Was there any science behind it? What I meant by no science behind it is that there wasn't a controlled trial.
But did he ever say that to the president? Mick Mulvaney tells us what Fauci did and did not say in the Oval Office. And he was the star of Capitol Hill today. And now Dad is explaining exactly what happened. Come on in. I'm Blake Berman. This is The Hill on NewsNation. All right, here we are hanging out today on this fine Monday. Scott Bolden, former D.C. Democratic Party chairman, NewsNation contributor as well. Ashley Davis is a former George W. Bush White House official. Brad Howard, a former senior aide to House Democrats, Democratic strategist as well. And Mick Mulvaney, former Trump White House chief of staff, NewsNation contributor. Hello to you all. Nice to have you all in on this Monday.
How many different pairs of glasses does he have?
Wearing the see-throughs today.
You? Oh, yeah.
No, I don't wear them, so.
Yeah.
As many as his little rose.
Oh, wow.
I think he has more watches than glasses. But
Blake, I think this is your show.
This is our show, or this is our show for the day. Senator Kevin Cramer is going to be joining us here momentarily. We're awaiting a big executive order, we believe, tomorrow from President Biden finally coming. Congressman Jake Auchincloss will be joining us as well here on the Hill. But first, the legal drama suddenly shifting from Donald Trump to Hunter Biden. A jury has been seated in what is now the first time in this country's history that a child of a sitting United States president undergoes a criminal trial. Hunter Biden faces 3 charges, accused of purchasing a firearm in 2018 when he was an active drug user. The First Lady, you just saw it there, Jill Biden, spending most of the day in the federal courthouse in Delaware, arriving early this morning, leaving later in the afternoon. President Biden released a statement today saying in part, quote, "As the president, I don't and won't comment on pending federal cases, but as a dad, I have boundless love for my son, confidence in him, and respect for his strength." All right, Mick, I did not see President Biden spike the football against President Trump last week when there was the guilty verdict. Is that why?
No, I think it was good political advice that he was getting not to spike the football. I don't know what you gain by spiking the football. What I don't understand is how the Republicans are going to handle this if it comes down the same way. If Hunter Biden is convicted, will the Republicans be able to resist the urge to spike the football? I think this is a very, you and I have talked about this before, this is a very dangerous place politically for Republicans to be. This is an addict who's dealing with issues that addicts deal with. Why we think as Republicans we can make political hay out of this, I just don't understand.
So I filled in yesterday on the Hill Sunday for Chris Steyerwalt. Congresswoman Nancy Mace from your state was one of our guests on the show. I asked her about that. What exactly should be the response here from Republicans? This is what she told me yesterday.
My focus has always been Joe Biden over Hunter Biden. That should always be our focus right now.
She got it spot on there?
I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a child, which is a little bit different. And I think that there's been so much tragedy in President Biden's life and Hunter Biden's life that I think that there's probably a political reason that the Republicans should not go after him like the Democrats did for President Trump.
So, he's not. To that point, though, President Trump is fair game because he is the candidate.
Exactly.
Right? That's the difference. Let's be careful not to equate these two trials.
They're unequivocal.
They're unequivocal. Like one is a tragic situation of someone struggling with addiction who's gone through and now dealing with the repercussions of that. A father who's going to do everything he can to love and support him throughout that process. The other one is a candidate who's been convicted 34 times.
I hear you as two totally separate things, right? One, of course, is at the top of the ticket. The other one is the child of a president. But I just witnessed the First Lady of the United States walk into a federal courthouse and spend most of her day inside of a federal courthouse, and that's...
Wait, she's not the president. That's her child.
What else would she do?
You don't want her to go see her child.
I'm not saying she should or shouldn't. I'm saying that's the reality, right? And that's what this family now has to deal with.
But that's the reality of addiction. Let's be careful because, Mick, I think you got it right. All of us, we have no perfect families. We all know someone close to me who's had addiction problems. It is not a political issue. It's a painful family issue. And whatever happens here, I respect the rule of law as an officer of the court. I've prosecuted addicts. I've defended addicts in court. And this is a deeply personal issue for this family. Regardless, they're going to accept the verdict. He's recovering, and he's going to have a lifetime of recovery. And the GOP can jump on it if they want to. But there are a lot of GOP family members who have kids who have been addicted to drugs or alcohol.
To be fair, though, President Biden has come around. He said last March, first of all, my son has done nothing wrong in an interview. Then there were charges, and now it's no comment on the president.
That's
I'm also
what I was just going to say. I mean, he has to accept the verdict. As he's saying that Trump should accept the verdict. So, I mean, whether you're a child or not, he's talking about the political system.
Yeah, but they're not equals here.
It doesn't matter. It's a political...
Trump is the GOP nominee. This is a child. He's never run for office before.
I will say that, look, the visual obviously isn't great politically, I think, to your point, Blake. But I do think at the end of the day, too, the visual, I'm choose my words carefully here, what it is showing is that the Democrats' point all along has been that everyone is treated equally under the law and everyone is held accountable to the law. And I think this actually reinforces the Democrats' point that even the president's own son is being held accountable here.
By his DOJ.
If I'm sitting in the Republican conference in the House, like I was 10 years ago, and we're having this conversation, someone's going to stand up, it might be me, and say, guys, gals, let's stay away from this one. Let's not even comment on the fact that Joe Biden, where else is she going to be? Granted, it's her stepson, but she raised this child.
Right.
I don't get why any Republican would even be talking about it. And Nancy Mace, I thought, was spot on.
Yeah, and you have been, by the way, on Sunday, I played your comments to Nancy Mace on the show last week and had her respond to that.
That's now I feel bad about not watching me. Thank you.
There you go. All right.
In my defense, I was out of the country.
But did she agree with you?
Yeah, she agreed with Mick, basically. Yeah, exactly. All right. Elsewhere today, and back here in Washington, in the hot seat before Congress was Dr. Anthony Fauci, a key player, as we all remember, in how this country responded to COVID-19, especially in the earliest days and weeks and months. Republicans grilled the former director of the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases on his statement, now saying there wasn't scientific backing for promoting 6 feet of social distancing.
What I meant by no science behind it is that there wasn't a controlled trial that said compare 6 foot with 3 feet with 10 feet. So there wasn't that scientific evaluation of it.
Okay, Mick, so you were the first ever head of the COVID task force, right, before Mike Pence, when you were the chief of staff?
Yeah, we didn't call it that, but that's what it was.
Okay. Yeah. And in the Oval Office, just for the audience watching us here on NewsNation or listening to us on Sirius XM, it was basically you, President Trump, you as the chief of staff, President Trump, the vice president, Dr. Fauci, the head of the
Bob
CDC.
Redfield, Azar, the head of Domestic Policy Council. It was about 8 or 12 people. Actually, there's folks from DOT in there. Folks from, because early on, we were worried about students. So actually, Elaine Chao was representative of education was in there as well. So it was a big group.
Okay, the point is you were closed circle in the Oval with the president, with Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that?
I never saw that. And every time I see that now, I get angry because I see it. Now I'm seeing it on 6 foot rules. I've seen it previously on the rule about masks.
We'll get there in a second, but let's stay here on distancing.
That level of candor was not present in the Oval Office. He's being more honest with members of Congress 4 years after the fact than he was with the President of the United States. And that's not right. That's not, your job is not to go in and make decisions. Your job is to go in and give the President the information he needs to make a decision. So and I never saw that.
To the best of your recollection from that time, because granted, this is 4 years ago, give or take. What did he say and how did it compare to that?
We have to do a 6 foot. We have to do 6 foot. Just like we have to do, we don't do masks, Mr. President. I have a more specific memory about masks.
Okay.
Don't do masks, Mr. President, because if you do a mask, it actually could increase the risk.
So here was Dr. Fauci earlier today being asked about, for example, masks, especially on younger children.
Mask mandates for children under 5, there's scientific evidence supporting that?
There was no study that did masks on kids before. You couldn't do the study. You had to respond to an epidemic that was killing 4,000 to 5,000 Americans per
Vaccine mandate.
So he is right. In the early days, we were responding to a pandemic that was killing thousands all over this country by the day. But what was he telling you then in the Oval about masks, and what should he have said?
Told me to go on television and tell people not to wear a mask.
Anthony Fauci.
Yes. Because if you did not put the mask on properly, it could actually help breed the disease, right? And then after the fact, when Congress pressed him on that a couple years ago, he said, well, I said that because I knew we had a shortage of masks, and I wanted to help preserve them for the folks who are in the healthcare industry. And I never heard that. All I heard was, don't wear masks. He made that decision instead of letting the president make the decision, and that's what gets me so fired up and angry about seeing Tony Fauci.
Explain to the folks at home, because COVID, of course, obviously is one issue, but you probably came up against thousands of issues, right? Or at least hundreds of them. What should the advice be? What is the advice when folks go in and brief the president?
You should look at it like this. The ultimate decision lies with the president of the United States. There were 12 people in the room. One of them had his name at the top of the ticket. One of them could be removed by voters if they didn't like what he did. It wasn't me. It wasn't Tony Fauci. It wasn't anybody else except Donald Trump. And when you are a staffer and when you're working for the President of the United States, you give that man information so that he can make the decisions. You don't go in and say, you've got all the answers, you're making the decisions. And that's what
did no one ask where the scientific evidence was? Did they question the advice that they were getting? I mean, isn't that the natural follow-up question? Like, why are you recommending this?
Realize who you're dealing with. Realize who you're dealing with right now. This is Anthony Fauci, right? This is the head of the infectious diseases. He's right. You're dealing with an emergency situation, and he walks in and said, we need to do this. You're sort of relying on him to tell you what the facts and the circumstances are.
I think there was...
Yes. To your point, I blame myself for not making sure all of those questions got asked. There's no question about it. I'm not saying that I am blameless here because I was chief of staff at the time. But again, you have to understand your role as a staffer. You are not the decision maker.
But everyone, no one knew a lot about this. We were in a pandemic, right? And I'm not defending Dr. Fauci at all. What I'm saying is that if I'm the chief commander, if I'm the president, then it's natural for me to say, tell me more. What's the science? Explain to me why this has to be the case, because if you don't tell me why this has to be the case, then I am kind of flying blind and letting the head of infectious diseases run the show.
So to that point, what would you say to folks who say Trump blew it?
Trump got bad advice from his team. And to the extent I'm responsible for that, I'll take responsibility.
Trump took bad advice.
Well,
no, that's not true. I mean, how did he? I mean, I'm not.
I'm just saying it wasn't that like it's that Trump accepted it is the real question.
Go down memory lane.
Yeah,
just like
and then I want to wrap it with Mick
I think
one
that
way.
this just drives me crazy because he was in charge during anthrax as well. And I know it's 20 years ago, but it was the same exact thing. He wanted to shut down everything. I was there then. I mean, that was my White House days. And it was like he wanted to shut down everything because of anthrax. And the Bush administration did push back. I mean, it was a different situation. But I mean, it was the same. It was the same, like the sky is falling. And so I think when you rely on someone like that, and plus he's like pompous now. Did you see him?
But also, do you want the medical professional giving you advice on how to handle a pandemic considering economic and political factors? You don't. You want them focused on that. Your job as the elected official in charge of those decisions is to take into account all of those other factors.
So let me leave you with this, Mick. What is the big learning as we sit here today? You hear from Anthony Fauci, and because at the end of the day, you want to learn things so that nothing like this ever happens again.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different lessons here. By the way, one of them is that you should prepare now for the next one, right?
Wasn't George W. Bush was warning about this for a while,
But here's my point.
Yeah.
We had done that. Okay. Which I didn't find out about till afterwards. There's actually a textbook on how to respond to these circumstances. That never came up in the conversation with the President of the United States. There is something you can pull off the shelf and go, here's how you deal with an infectious disease. And by the way, the textbook is you don't ever shut down. Because what you do is you identify who the most at-risk populations are, and you isolate those people because you don't shut the whole place down, because if you do, the damage you can do to a society is greater than the actual disease itself.
All right, still to come here from the Hill over the next 46 minutes or so. President Biden expected to take executive action on the border tomorrow, so what could that look like? Senator Kevin Cramer joins us in about 20 minutes to discuss. Plus, Donald Trump matches President Biden and then raises him. Trump now on TikTok, but should either of them actually be on that app? Congressman Jake Auchincloss joins us on the other side of the break. And later in the show, have you cooled down before Hot Mike? I got you fired up a little there.
How could you not be cold in here? It's freezing.
Trump, UFC, fundraising, gas prices, Hot Mike with Mick later in the show. You're watching The Hill here on NewsNation. Go back here to the Hill on NewsNation. So former President Trump is now on TikTok, a move that he unveiled while at this weekend's UFC event.
The president is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
All right, so that was the intro video there. Of course, that's Dana White, president of the UFC, introing the former president to the nearly 170 million American users. That's basically half of this country, give or take, that is on TikTok. Now, in 2 days, Trump has racked up nearly 10 times more the followers than the Biden campaign's account, which joined back in February. Do those numbers worry you, Brad, Scott? I mean, the president we know is trying to lock up the youth vote, which is a traditional Democratic base, and Trump gets on TikTok and...
I mean, I think Trump's social media presence overall is much more genuine and unpredictable and, interesting than Biden's, I'll say that. So people, I think, wanted to come and follow him.
I also think it's his demographic. I mean, a lot of the small businesses are on TikTok, and that's who's following him.
Trump's demographic.
Trump's demographic.
Right, he's at the UFC. You're not going to see Biden at the UFC.
No, but
about being on TikTok.
Yeah.
Well, I thought TikTok was dangerous for all of us.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. But
Trump, the president and the presidential nominee GOP is on TikTok.
Yeah, Trump was against it in the White House. Now he's for it. The Biden administration, just like the Trump administration, believe it's a national security concern. They're both on it.
Let's be clear. It is a national security concern. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
The Trump policy to try and ban TikTok was correct, and the Biden policy to try and ban it is correct. Now, they're both on it, and I get that. It's the political reality of it. Since Biden's on it, Trump feels like he needs to be on it. That's true, but I hope it does not end the conversation at the end of the campaign about the policy, because this is not a good thing to have on your phone.
So how do you reconcile that?
I'm not sure that you said he's now against it, now he's for it. I'm not sure if he's for it, but he's for it.
He urged Congress not to vote for the TikTok ban.
Okay, so why isn't that?
But also, too, how much of those are authentic followers? We all know Russia and China infiltrates these things and populates with robots.
I said that earlier today. I was like, I don't know if those numbers are what's accurate or what's not.
Why isn't that political hypocrisy for both candidates?
It is.
Mick's saying it is.
Yeah,
they
they're
both
just
are.
trying to have it both ways.
They're trying to win an election.
All right, come on in, Congressman Jake Auchincloss. He is the Democrat from the state of Massachusetts, a member of the China Select Committee. He co-sponsored the bill that President Biden signed into law that forces ByteDance, that's the parent company, to either sell TikTok within 9 months or be banned within the United States after a year's time. Congressman, thanks for being back here on the Hill. Appreciate the time. So you, sir, are as big of an advocate that was pushing for this bill. And now not only is the head of your party using it to try to win an election, the head of the other party is using it to try to win an election. Should both sides be off it as you see it?
Both sides are going to use every legal means available to reach voters. As Mick said, that's politics. Doesn't change the fact that TikTok is a national security concern. It is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, which wants to see Trump in the White House because he degrades our own democracy and undermines the rules-based order that they're trying to upend. And so I'm deeply concerned that 170 million Americans are going to be getting at least some, if not most, of their information from a platform controlled by our biggest adversary that has an active stake in the most important election of our lifetime.
So what about those numbers? Do you believe they're genuine? Do you believe they're authentic?
I don't know, and to be candid, I don't much care. I mean, Trump is a reality TV star. He's more sizzle than steak. He was always going to be a hit on TikTok. I don't think that's surprising. I'm focused on Haley voters in the heartland and on Democrats' ability to reach those voters who are the true swing constituency in this election with a law and order message. The Republican Party is not the party of law and order. They're trying to surge guns in our classrooms. They're voting against border security legislation. They're trying to defund the FBI. And, oh, yeah, they're nominating a convicted felon to be president of the United States. These Haley voters are reachable by Democrats if we campaign on, govern on, win their trust on the issue of law and order.
So should the Biden campaign be using, should they be using TikTok to go after Haley voters? I hear you that that's your message. If they can do it that way, you said legal means, yes, it is legal. Should they be using it to go after Haley voters if that's the big push?
I'm not going to give them granular advice about media and format. They've got a whole team of strategists that are doing that. The overarching message here is Republicans have ceded the issue of law and order. Democrats have a story to tell about us being the party that upholds the rules-based international order, about us being a party that cares about public safety, about us being the party that controls and supports, I should say, the constitutional order. And we need to drive that message home to that admittedly small but critical swing constituency in the swing states.
Yep. I know the China threat, Congressman, is a big issue for you. There was a story that popped in the Wall Street Journal earlier today, and here's what it says. It says, quote, China is pre-positioning for future cyber attacks, and the new NSA chief is worried. He says, quote, in the article, we could see no other use, meaning of Volt Typhoon, which is the cybersecurity apparatus, it's believed, that China uses. What is the big worry with China as you see it? Is it this? Something else?
It's multifaceted. So it's this, they're pre-positioning their ability to wage cyber attacks, not even against sensitive information or against military assets, but against civilian infrastructure like water and power. Now, the good news is that the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is doing really good work over a bipartisan series of administrations and Congresses to make us a harder target. But I would say that the two biggest things we need China to do right now is, number one, stop exporting fentanyl precursors to the United States. They are subsidizing and facilitating the export of fentanyl to the west coast of America and Mexico, where it's being trafficked into America. It's state-sponsored poisoning of the United States. And the second thing is they've got to stop exporting dual-use technology to Russia to allow them to wage their brutal war against Ukraine. Those are the two big near-term diplomatic achievements we need vis-a-vis China right now.
All right, Congressman Jake Auchincloss from the state of Massachusetts, thanks for being back with us here on the Hill. We'll talk to you again.
Take care.
Yep, I'll let you two respond because he threw a lot at Republicans there.
Oh, I'll ignore the politics of it and the gratuitous attacks on Donald Trump and agree with him on a couple of things. This is the front line of the next war.
China.
Yes, cyber, okay?
Cyber,
and chemicals. This is our grandparents dropped bombs on stormed beaches.
Right.
Okay. The next war will be fought. Why would you bomb somebody's water plant when you can simply take it offline? One way or the other, people aren't going to be able to flush the toilets and drink water out of the faucets. Right? If you could do it without dropping a bomb, would you choose to do it? This is the front line of the next war, and I think attention to it from both parties is attention well given.
All right, there is still much more ahead here on the Hill. The Republican senator from North Dakota, Kevin Cramer, joins me on the other side of the break to talk about the border. What does he hope to see out of the White House tomorrow? We are expecting an executive action from President Biden on the southern border. What could that look like? You're watching The Hill here on NewsNation. Welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation. In New York City today, 2 NYPD officers were wounded in a shootout with a Venezuelan migrant in Queens who entered the country through Eagle Pass, Texas last summer. Now, video here shows one of the officers being released from the hospital. You can see great news earlier today. Police say the suspect was arrested and lives at a migrant shelter there in the area. The mayor, Eric Adams, called the crime a total disregard for life.
This is a bullet hole. Because of this vest, a young police officer is going home. Senseless act of violence. A total disregard for life.
Former President Donald Trump responded on Truth Social, blaming the crime on President Biden, saying, quote, Biden's migrant crime is out of control and ravaging America. Tomorrow, President Biden is expected to announce the executive actions along the southern border. It's believed that could happen tomorrow. The White House has not yet released details, but the Associated Press reports the order could include elements from the failed Senate deal, which, along with, for example, capping encounters, at least according to the Associated Press, at 2,500 per day over the course of a week. The border would then be reopened once that number drops down to 1,500. The order could also include automatic renewal if the number of encounters is already reached. We are expecting this tomorrow. No official word that it's happening tomorrow. It's kind of fascinating to me, Ashley, that we don't yet have the details on this. Normally, you sort of get a sense of what is or is not coming. But if that is indeed the case, that is a more aggressive push out of the president than I thought that we would have gotten from him. Mick's, you think no, Mick's
it's
not
more
yet.
aggressive than the Senate package. Senate package was like 4,000.
It is,
Yeah.
but not that I think no. It's just that we've been talking about this executive order coming out for like 6 months now.
Right.
But more importantly, he's always said that he doesn't have the ability to stop what's happening at the border. This is a perfect example of he has the ability to stop at the border, and he should have done it 3 years ago. And I think what happened in New York, in my mind, from a national security perspective, it was horrible what happened, but that is just small ball. There are so many people that on the terrorist watch list have crossed this country and that are in this country that are going to do much more than what they did today in New York City.
Oh, we've caught some of them for sure.
Okay.
We've caught some of them because you wouldn't be able to say that. Well, we don't know what we don't know. But here's the deal. If he does this executive action with no money behind it, then he's handicapped because he can't hire more border agents or add more technology. If you look at the Speaker of the House, his reaction to this executive order coming out, right? What did the Speaker say?
He said, quote, it's too little, too late now. He's trying to desperately show the American people that he wants to address the issue that he himself
created. It is too little, too late.
Wait. Doesn't the GOP love this country and want to shut down the border and want to resolve this crisis at the border? Go
ahead. But haven't we been saying that for 3 years?
You pass it once, and you would come at the president on the executive order because you all have driven it. You all have driven this narrative.
Let me agree with you a little bit, which we do every once in a while, every now and then. I applaud the policy. Okay. Let's from a policy standpoint, I think it's the right thing to do.
We still don't have the details.
But now, what does he say during the debate in June when Trump turns to him and goes, "Why didn't you do this 3 years ago?" What's the answer to that question?
Well, I think the answer is he wanted to push for a bipartisan coalition to pass legislation.
Oh, come on. That happened like 6 weeks ago.
That's why you're not the president. I'm saying, Congress needs to step up. Congress needs to step up and do his job here. Trump is the one that killed this deal single-handedly. And I would also want to point out to the New York the tragic shooting of those police officers that the availability of guns is also a problem here that's contributing to this rising crime and gun violence. Yes, the border's a problem. There are people here. The Democrats have come around finally and said, we're going to do this. I hope Congress allows this executive order to go through, and then we have it. All right,
come on in. I want to bring in Senator. Hold on one second. I want to bring in Senator Kevin Kramer from North Dakota, who is standing on by, listening to some of this. Senator Kramer, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. I wonder why you think, sir, this is coming from the president, assuming it happens tomorrow or this week or the upcoming days. Why it's happening now?
Because he can read polls and he sees he's in a lot of trouble, and the number one concern for the American people is the border crisis that, yes, he created. And this EO is an admission that he could have done something about it all along. And the thing he's been doing about it is opening the border wide open and saying, come on in, bring your human traffickers and your drug traffickers and all, criminals and terrorists and all kinds of people. Just come on in until there's, 2.5 million of you a year, and then suddenly the last 5 months before an election, he decides he's got the power to do something about it now. He's irredeemable on this topic, and frankly, I think he's going to irritate his base a lot more than he does any good for himself.
Do you worry, though, that he could flip the script, right? Because President Trump, as we know, first off, to just walk the audience who's watching us here on NewsNation or listening on SiriusXM through all of this. You know this, in the House, they passed H.R. 2. That went nowhere. The Senate tried to negotiate something. Donald Trump killed that. Now here we are, and there's real questions about why the president hasn't acted sooner. But do you worry that he could flip the script and say, see, Trump killed it, and then I'm taking action?
Well, first of all, I think that what's already baked into this whole debate about this presidential election is the comparison of two men who've been president for 4 years, and all an American has to do is go, gee, what did it look like under Donald Trump? Donald Trump's worst month in his 4 years was about equal to Joe Biden's best month at the border, which was his first month. So, yeah, the only real debate is who did secure the border when he was president. Donald Trump did, Joe Biden didn't. Case closed. I don't think there's enough spin in the world to redeem Joe Biden on this topic.
Let me ask you about the Senate, because you are a Republican senator. You are hoping that Republicans take control in the Senate in November. Just down the road from us here in Washington is the state of Maryland. Larry Hogan, a Republican, has a real chance of picking up that seat. He said that the verdict against Donald Trump should be respected, and the Trump team and the RNC has pushed back on it. Here's Laura Trump, for example, on Larry Hogan over the weekend, quote, "He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point, and quite frankly, anybody in America, if that's the way you feel." Is she right? Does Larry Hogan not deserve to be respected for pushing back and basically saying, let's respect the verdict?
Well, as a Republican United States Senator on the ballot this year, I really hope Larry Hogan becomes a United States Senator and is a Republican caucusing with us next year.
Oh, I know you do. I know you do, and that's why I'm wondering. That's why I'm wondering, sir, if you think that the Trump team's going too far overboard with this.
Well, I think the Trump team's doing what the Trump team needs to do for Donald Trump's election, and I'm not against that. But I think for Larry Hogan, it may even help him in Maryland to be pushed back against, by the Republican National Committee. So whatever people have to do for Larry Hogan to become a Republican senator, I'm for that.
All right, we'll leave it there. Senator Kevin Cramer, thank you for joining us here on the Hill. Appreciate the time, sir, and hope you come on back.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. Does he have a point there, or is it?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think the fact that the RNC is coming up out against Larry Hogan is probably making him happy.
But you think so? Because from a 30,000-foot level, it would seem absurd that you attack a seat that you need to win.
In a blue state.
In a very
blue state.
Yeah.
With an African-American woman as the Democratic nominee.
And keep in mind, I think in this situation, I mean, I think Republicans, I hope they spend money in Maryland. I hope they spend a lot of money in Maryland. But I think at the end of the day, it's a reminder of just how far off the mainstream the Republican Party has come on these issues. And watching that Larry Trump interview was fascinating in their ability to kind of come into the mainstream here. But I want to back up a little bit to what he said about the immigration debate here. And it's the sense of that Congress has failed time and again, and I think President Biden here is going to get some credit from the American people. I don't think it's a bad policy to follow what your voters want you to do. That's what he's doing here, and I hope the Democratic Party understands this is a bad issue for them in November.
Oh, you know they're not.
And they need to rally behind the president.
Some on the left are going to flip out when he comes forward.
But I will say, too, and the Republicans criticized Obama years for relying on executive action. What you want is comprehensive policy into law and the funding to support it.
Mulvaney is sitting back there holding his hands, and
where to start? I actually just think they didn't like Larry Hogan's comments about the trial. I don't think they think this is going to help him in Maryland. I think Kevin's probably right. Senator Kramer's probably right. It might actually help him, but I don't think that was the plan.
I thought you were just sitting back because you were just warming up for Hot Mic with Mick.
I can't feel my fingers, Berman.
Other side of the break, Hot Mic with Mick. Donald Trump is at UFC again. Gas prices.
We got Trump at wrestling matches. We got Trump wrestling and gas prices. We got a lot of wrestling.
I actually thought the gas prices story was maybe the biggest story over the weekend, or one of them.
Aside from the conviction of the former president of the United States.
Well, that happened last week.
And the Aaron Rodgers.
A little bit more of this. Other side of the break. You're watching The Hill here on
Big story.
Next, and what are most of the national media getting wrong? O'Reilly breaks it down with Leland on Balance. Tonight, only on NewsNation.
All right, welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation. Time now for Hot Mic with Mick. The former congressman, budget director, White House chief of staff, tells us what he's hearing, what he's thinking. All right, Mulvaney, former President Trump, giving his first television interview over the weekend after being convicted of 34 felony counts. He responded to the possibility of being sent to prison.
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, "Oh no, you don't want to do that to the president." I said, "Don't beg for anything." I think it would be tough for the public to take. At a certain point, there's a breaking point.
Says he's okay with the possibility. Believe him there?
No, I think he's got to say that. And I think they're certainly, going to go through the motions of planning what happens in the unlikely circumstance he does. I'm not concerned about civil unrest. I mean, look what people did over the weekend. They didn't take to the streets. They didn't send cars on fire. They didn't riot. They went online.
And they donated.
And they gave him $25.
Yeah.
The biggest news over the weekend, in fact, it just came out in the last couple of hours.
Yeah,
politically,
Trump campaign.
Is that not only did he raise $1 bajillion in 24 hours. And not only did he outraise Biden for the whole month, 25% of their donors in the last month are new donors. We've talked about this. If it was just people who are giving him money again, that's good news. If it's new people getting off the sidelines, that's tremendous news. And I cannot wait to see the racial breakdown, the demographic breakdown. If this is African Americans, if this is Hispanics, then this is a tectonic shift in this race.
Don't answer the phone just yet. We're not done here. $141 million is what the Trump campaign says they raised. That worried how much?
I mean, he's going to need a lot of money to defend himself in all these criminal trials, so sure.
Exactly.
But
he is.
Okay.
No, look,
That's a good talking point.
That is a staggering number.
It is a staggering number, and it's taken a while for the Republicans at large to get really embracing online giving in the way Democrats have, and he's a genius at raising money and getting into.
All right, that wasn't Trump's only event this weekend, by the way. The former president attended UFC 302, where he was greeted with a standing ovation and even got a shout out from inside the ring.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you. I'll be donating to you, my man. Let's get it done.
This is the fourth time, Mick, that he's been at a UFC event since 2023. What's the thinking here?
He loves these. He loves these wrestling events, and
just like this is like something he enjoys.
It's showmanship. Okay. It's what he's really, really good at. But here's what I take a look at, and I know people are going to dismiss this. It's in Newark. Okay, this is a New York, New Jersey audience, and I know everybody says, well, it's a wrestling fan. It's not a statistically interesting group of people, but it's still New York and New Jersey. We had data, Blake, back in January of 2020. Before COVID, when we thought that Bernie Sanders was going to be the Democrat nominee. And we had data that said we thought we could win 40 states. And New York and New Jersey were two of them. States are not permanently one party or the other. Even the Californias and New Yorks of the world, under certain circumstances, they can flip, just like Georgia did in 2020. If Donald Trump really plays his hand right, everything goes right, I got to tell you, New Jersey might be in play.
There's a lot of big ifs. First of all, that's a lot of big ifs.
So you Democrats are going to say spend all the money you want as Republicans.
Please, but the difference is we have a machine that is in there that turns out voters at all levels
already.
In New Jersey.
Do you think
Republicans don't?
How do you do with that 40 count? Did you win 40 states?
No,
you did.
You're not going to nominate Bernie Sanders?
No, we did.
So is Mick onto something there about?
No, I don't know about winning New Jersey or New York. But my point is, though, we're sitting here watching, and this is where the four of us are out of touch with the American people. He strikes something in the American people that us sitting on the borders, in the coast,
hey, I'm from
don't
Arkansas.
understand.
I'm from Arkansas.
But you're not there right now.
No, but this is his demographic, though. Of course, if you walk into a room full of people who are likely to support, watch UFC, you're likely to vote for Trump. So that doesn't really win you many voters.
Hold on, Mick, real quick, right? Donald Trump's greatest challenge politically to winning this race is he's got to grow above 45%, right? Biden's got to shore up his base and get them back, that coalition back together. It's much easier getting your coalition who's mad at you back together than finding new voters when you're Donald Trump and you've been convicted of at least 34 felonies.
Watch me
it's
put
not going to happen.
Watch me put the fear of God in my good one.
You were sitting back and you were sitting back and smirking.
The last number I saw was 30% amongst African American males for Donald Trump.
Not happening. Not happening. You're in fantasy land right now. I'll tell you what. If 30% of African American males vote for Donald Trump,
you're buying me a steak.
I'll buy you 2 steaks and bring your entire family. Extended and otherwise.
Shape.
If you drive there, gas prices right now about $3.60 a barrel. OPEC Plus is the influential organization of oil-producing countries. It has agreed to extend production cuts into next year, a deal that likely means oil prices will remain high, Mick, throughout the presidential election. Explain why this is important. I thought this was a big deal over the weekend because it's basically saying we're going to try to keep prices high.
Well, there's two sides to this. Okay, what the Saudis will tell you, and they're telling you the truth is, look, we don't make decisions based upon politics. We base decisions because this is how we make our living, right?
Right.
And if we can get the highest price we can for oil, that's what we're going to do, gosh darn it. And they said that to Trump. They're saying to Biden. Now, if you asked them who do they prefer between Biden and Trump, they prefer Trump. There's no question about it. I mean, that's just it is. Certain governments like Democrats, certain governments like Republicans. Emmanuel Macron in France is begging for a Joe Biden second term. Joe Biden did the same thing. He went to the Saudis back in October of 22 and said, please lower prices.
The biggest threat to oil is the production of green and renewable energy, which President Biden supports. So of course they're going to be upset.
The biggest threat to the oil production is American oil.
Can I talk about
real quick, and then I want to show the video of the day.
Okay, more importantly, that Mick just said, gosh darn.
That's as far as Mick goes. All right, by the way, here's the video. A photo bomber becoming the star. That was Hot Mike with Mick, by the way.
Warming it up in here.
A photo bomber becoming the star of Capitol Hill today. Watch.
We'd be well served to remember the long and cherished tradition we have in this country of settling our political differences at the ballot box.
That right there. His 6-year-old son. Keep the video up. Don't show him that. Video is so much better than me. He's a 6-year-old son of Congressman John Rose from Tennessee. His name is Guy. And look at the smirk.
This kid's taking all my best moves.
There you go. Yeah, I think just like any 6-year-old would on the House floor earlier today.
I think we need more kids in the audience.
Like that. By the way, the congressman responded. Show the tweet from the congressman on how he responded. He basically said, I'm digging for it here in my notes.
This is what I get.
Yeah, he said, quote, "This is what I get for telling my son Guy to smile at the camera for his little brother." There you go. The response from the congressman earlier
It's
today.
always special when the kids join the members on the floor, especially for swearing-in day, when all the families get together. It's really something to look at.
That's when my daughter met Joe Biden.
Video of the day right there. All right, Leland Vitter joins us on the other side of the break. So is everything now cool between Disney and the Florida governor? Leland, here on the other side. You're watching The Hill. All right, so before we say goodbye here on the Hill, here's a story that caught our eye. Walt Disney World and the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, are reportedly working out a new $17 billion development deal that could bring a 5th theme park to the Sunshine State. Now, if allowed, this would be the second, I guess you could say, peaceful agreement between Disney and DeSantis after the two settled a years-long public fight back in March. I would note, Leland Vitter, a fight that ended once Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign ended, whether that's coincidental or not.
You believe me? I'm not trained to believe in coincidences.
I don't, but I think at the end of the day, money, money, money. Beaches and tourism is what they live on in Florida. You know what kids love? Disney.
TV.
TV is one of them. Biggest story of the day. Show the video. Not the biggest story, the funniest story of the day. Show the video. What happened up on Capitol Hill earlier today? A 6-year-old son, a sitting member of Congress, was up there and having his way. His dad was at the podium. Look at that. You're going to speak to them coming up on your show.
Your kids have never acted like that, have they?
Not on the floor of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, no, he's coming up. This is what I think is interesting, is that you and I have been here for long enough to know how many of these guys, meaning members of Congress, get up and blow V8 for hours on end, and nobody cares what they have to say. Nobody listens, so they can cut campaign ads. Somebody finally paid attention to a floor speech.
Right. All you need is the kid there on the